You're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine.
The opinions and views expressed in this program do not reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this talk show or other talk shows broadcasting on KUCI, log on to our website at kuci.org or check out the latest program guide.
This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at Little Fish Theater for their presentation of The Foreigner.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
David Graham. I'm the director of the show, The Foreigner, at Little Fish Theater.
Great. So, question, what do you like most about this piece?
Oh, God, it's a funny play. There's no doubt about that. I'm originally from Georgia, so the fact that the play is set in Georgia and it doesn't particularly poke fun at Georgia, but sort of laughs along with it, that I like that very much.
If my viewers decide to come out and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Oh, well, there's a great deal of... I hesitate to call it farce. I'm not sure that it's farce, but boy, are there some really, really, really funny moments in it. So I think you can expect to laugh a lot if you come.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very funny piece. I thought it was actually very, how should I put it? It was dealing with contemporary problems that we have right now. Sure. I guess especially with, maybe a left versus right kind of political sense to it.
Right. Well, there's something polarizing about... what's the right word? Tolerance, intolerance. There's a great deal of trouble between opposing ideas, and I'm afraid that there's not much of a bridge between them. So people who are on one side are definitely on one side, and people who are on the other side are definitely on the other side. And I don't know. I feel like that the play sort of says, that's kind of silly. It takes a look at that and says, it gives us examples of both, and then it says, why are we doing this? What difference does that make?
Right, and I thought it wasn't too. Again, it was a bit of a farce, but it wasn't too stingy. It wasn't very blatant. Well, I guess it was blatant, but it was in over the top, kind of a obviously superfluous way.
Right. Oh yes, yeah. It's not meant to. Well, I don't want to say it's not meant to give you something to think about. I think all good plays give you something to think about, but I don't think that was its goal. Its goal was to have fun and entertain you, make you laugh, and that's all I really asked from it.
Right, I really love the cast. I always love the cast at Little Fish Theater, but I particularly like the cast tonight. What do you look for in your casting?
Oh, gosh. Well, the very first thing I always look out for is, how well they fit the role. But the second thing that I look for is always, would they be fun to work with? So whenever I find people that are fun to work with, and people who take direction well, these are both very, very essential qualities for me.
Okay. Well, again, I really love the cast. I love the piece. I was very entertained by it, and it did have a bit of a stinging humor to it, so I really enjoyed that too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed myself tonight.
Oh, I'm glad. Come back and see us again.
All right. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, thanks.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Chancellor Dean. I'm originally from Southern California, went to USC for undergrad and Temple University in Philly for my MFA in acting, and have lived in the East Coast as well as here for quite some time. And this is my first time coming around to the Little Fish Theater.
Great. And which character did you play tonight?
Reverend David Lee.
What's your take on the Reverend?
Oh, he's a really nice guy. I mean, he is a reverend, and he thinks that he is right and righteous, and he knows the best way to lead his flock, even though others might not think that that's the best way.
Yeah, again, I'm a person who really loves anti-heroes and villains and all that, just because I feel that they're more complex. Like if you're a leading man, you're basically just playing yourself. But if you're playing a villain, then you got to delve into why is he like this. You have to delve into his childhood, into his life, and all that. And I think the Reverend he leads a very protective life, in my opinion. I think it's kind of like he's around all the same people, maybe all white men, all the same. Sure. They all talk the same. They all think the same, and it's just sheltered. And they all believe the same thing, so they kind of just encourage each other to believe what they believe, kind of like a support group,
Yeah, I mean, and so it's kind of a mesh between both his flock as a reverend, but also the group that he's leading on the side, and he thinks that he knows the best way to utilize that army, so to speak, for his purpose. So I don't think that it's necessarily that he is coming from the group side, and I don't know if I want to say it, is that giving it away? But coming from the KKK, and where he's actually approaching it from, I'm going to make everything right on this side, and I'm using this side over here, the KKK, as a tool. So he definitely thinks that he is the smartest one around. Not only that, he knows what is right for everything around, and believes that it is the correct way to go about doing it. And so it's interesting for me because you can't have contempt for your character, even though he's repugnant and you would never want to associate with someone like that. But he's interesting because most of his life is a mask, putting on airs to be someone for the people, someone, an everyman, and with a agenda that he can't really share with anyone, so kind of lonely.
Well, again, I've been in situations like that before where I've seen some people where it's like, if you're around people who say they're all unemployed, mm-hmm. say they're all white people, say mm-hmm. they're all unemployed, and they don't have a high school education, what are you going to say to them? You can't say, you're a bottom half of society. You have to say, okay, you're doing well. Let's find some way you guys can do well. Let's see, if we all got together, there's something we can stand for. There's something we can do. And eventually, if you believe that long enough, you shelter yourself from everyone else and you don't let anyone else in, then, things just kind of get a little bizarre. You know what I mean?
Right. You become the composite of everyone that you're staying around with, and you don't get any new information. So anytime you have an argument about something, you're not learning something new, you're feeding your own ideology. And so when you're, like you said, completely enclosed in that group of people or those, whatever the case may be, it just continues to ramp up what you believe to be true. And unfortunately, this was a show written 30 years ago, and it's just as relevant today, even more so than it might have been 10 years ago.
Well, again, I really liked your character in a sense that I didn't like the character.
Right.
He was kind of an over-the-top person, too. And again, it was... I wouldn't say he was a cartoon character, even though a lot of this was a little cartoonish, just because, you just have to deal with it this way. Mm-hmm. But your character, again, was... How should I put it? Times I liked him. Times I can imagine that I have to go to, like, a dinner party and I have to meet people like this. Mm-hmm. Or, if it's like, if it's a big Hollywood party and there's a person there that you know is very repugnant, you just have to be very nice to them, and they're very charming,
sure.
Very interesting people to be with. It's just you kind of know the real them, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, the hope was that that's a discovery for the audience, that when you first meet the Reverend, you think that, this is the kind of guy that I would want to be around, I would want to be in his church, I would want to have as a friend, and so that hopefully turns on a dime when you learn that he's not who you thought he was. But he definitely ingratiates himself to people very easily. He knows how to please anyone. And so I think the only time that he really gets out of control is when there's someone in the room smarter than him. And in the show, it's in that second act with Charlie, when Charlie's leading everything and he can't make a maneuver on him. So you start seeing him slip up at that point.
Yeah, well, I really liked the piece. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was politically biting. And I really liked the way you played your character. I mean, obviously, there's a way of not playing it right where it would be very unlikable, but I really liked your character. I really liked the way you handled it.
Well, great. I appreciate that. I hope that that's something that a lot of people end up thinking, because we were talking about whether or not Owen and... who's my character? David, were going to get booed at certain points, So, although if you're really playing a villain, I guess that is kind of what you might hope for in a certain aspect. But I'm glad that you felt that way. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Great. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Greg Lawrence. I just grew up here in Southern California. Been acting. This is my 50th year in acting, actually.
Great. And which character you play there?
I am Owen Musser.
What's your take on Owen?
Well, he's a guy who's a little bit disappointed in life. He doesn't like the way things have been going for he and his people, as he perceives it. I think the interesting thing about this show is that it was actually written 35 years ago, and it still deals with contemporary issues, unfortunately.
Yeah, actually, I enjoyed the stinging humor also. Again, I wouldn't say it really poked fun of Southerners, but it poked fun of a Southern tradition that maybe should should be addressed, and it can be addressed in a serious way. I think it has to be addressed in a humorous way. Otherwise, it's just distasteful to be addressed. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think laughter is the best way to deal with things like this. You know, if you get people to see the absurdity of it, then maybe they don't take it as seriously. I mean, in a positive way, I mean. You know, that they realize it's not as scary as they might think it to be.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Well, they should expect to see a comedy. This is a very funny piece. Larry Shue wrote it, and he wrote this and The Nerd, and then he passed away in a plane crash, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen what else he would have come up with in his career if he had been able to stick around.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed the piece, because, again, like you were saying, it's contemporary in a sense with the election, with the Trump election. The Trumpians, I think they call themselves. Yeah, they don't even call themselves Republicans nowadays, because they're a bit of a fringe group and all that. And again, you know, just I'd say making fun of them, and again in a self-reflecting kind of way for our society, but. You know, again, not too serious. It was more over the top than anything else.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if it points out anything, it points out what ignorance does to people. You know, and how tolerance is one of the missing elements in our society, and that's really what we need right now. And I think this play really speaks to that.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very deep in that sense. I thought it was very funny, humorous, and I thought the acting was fantastic. You guys were fantastic.
Thank you. We had a great time doing it.
Thank you once again for being on the show.
Sure thing.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Heather Tyler. I'm a native of Pocahontas, Arkansas, not by way of anywhere. That's where I'm from. I went to school in Memphis and went to Chicago and did theater there for a decade before moving out to LA. And now this is my debut performance with Little Fish.
And which character did you play?
Catherine Sims.
What's your take on Catherine?
Catherine is a Southern Belle ex-debutante. The play is set in the 80s, so you've got that retro vibe kind of thrown in. But her daddy was, in the packaged meat goods, so it's not like we're talking super high Gigi. So you've got that style of Atlanta, Georgia, Southern Belle debutante that's just a little more approachable than maybe your East Coast debutantes.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Oh, it's a comic romp. You're going to have fun. Everyone's laughing every 5 seconds. It's packed full. The writing is just, it's so quick, it's so witty, it's so well done, it's easy to play. They're going to have a great time.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the piece. Again, I felt it was a lot like Saturday Night Live. Again, well, nowadays, the type of politics, because this was written in the 80s and it was just a bit of a farce, but now it's just, I don't know, we've just gotten so polarized, things have changed so much, that I think it's something that should be addressed right now.
Isn't that crazy? We're dealing with the same issues as in the 80s, only you're exactly right. It's so much more polarized. So a play like this it's farcical, so the humor is removed enough from our touch points right now that you really can just laugh at it and go, oh my God, why are we still laughing about these same horrible things that we're in as a country with racism and making it great again and foreigners aren't welcome? It's so ridiculous, so true, but still sort of like healing when you can have fun and laugh about it. So if you're upset with the political climate today, come see this show. It'll make you feel just a little bit better because you're all going to laugh together.
I think people on the right would actually appreciate this too, because in a sense, it's meant to be over the top, extreme, and again, because these types of topics, I don't think can be addressed even handled. How do you talk about racism even handled? Yeah, it's okay to be racist. No, you can't say that. So again, over the top just allows you to analyze it, enjoy it, and actually, because it's funny, it allows you to laugh at it.
That's what comedy is. You just go right to what it is that's right or wrong, and you just poke at it and make fun of it and laugh, because that's, how you can deal with it. It's how you talk about it. It's hard, so let's laugh.
Also loved your acting, because again, you know what they say, comedy is very hard to do. To do very good comedy, to do farcical comedy and all, and especially with a sensitive topic like this. I mean, how do you make comical about racism without offending people? And again, I thought it was very funny. I didn't think it was offensive, even if I were, say, a Southern white person like yourself. I don't think it would be. I don't think I would get offended by it.
It's funny. Larry Shue is given the credit for how the writing just makes it so easy to play. But it's funny because this is The Foreigner is a play that where I come from is like everybody has done it like 5 times. You do it in summer stock, you do it at dinner theater. Southerners love this play. So even though we're making fun of ourselves, we don't care. It's funny. We love to do it. And so if the rest of the country wants to jump on board and make fun of us too, so much the better for it.
Well, I enjoyed it. I loved your acting. I loved the piece. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks so much. It was fun.
My name is David Lawrence. I recently moved to LA with my wife, Diana. I have been an actor for about 9 years, on and off. Went on hiatus for about 6 years. Got back into it a couple of years back, and have been going at it ever since. I play the lead character, Charlie Baker. Charlie, to me, is the kind of guy who just accepts what life has offered to him up until this point. He's a very shy, very timid individual, doesn't think much of himself, and isn't really in much of an environment to think much of himself until he's forced into this little lodge in the middle of Georgia where he has to kind of think outside of the box when it comes to actually interacting with people, because thanks to his friend, he can't really just outright say things, and he's not even really in a position where he wants to talk to anybody anyway. But based on the environment he's put in, with everything that turns out to be happening behind the scenes that he picks up on, he ends up feeling forced to do something, and in doing so, he gets put in a position where he learns more about what he can offer, not just to the people in this lodge, but to the world at large, that he actually does have something to say, and that he can actually offer something of value to people around him. I think when the viewers come to see this show, they will get a family-friendly show that is a little bit of everything, actually. It's a comedy by default, but there are some dramatic moments as well, especially near the end. A couple of moments that can be a little scary, getting a little into the horror elements. No blood, though. Again, very family-friendly. But the show kind of runs the gauntlet in regards to what it has to offer for the audience. There are plenty of moments when you're going to laugh. There may be a couple moments where you want to cry. You're going to be getting great dialogue, very witty, very snappy, and at the beginning, very dry humor, and then later on, very slapstick humor. Even the humor itself runs the gauntlet. So there's a lot of variety in this show that I think the viewers will get, and I think they will appreciate it. I think one of the most important lines in this show comes from Catherine when she says, "Nobody is like him, nobody is like anybody," which really sums up what the world is like. No one really is like anyone, and to try to generalize people within certain groups based on the way they look, the way they worship, or anything of that nature, it's very narrow-minded and two-dimensional to me, in my opinion. And this show, I think its main focus when it comes to intolerance is basically saying take the time to talk to people. Take the time to actually reach out to them and to get to know them. Because there are several moments in the play, particularly with my character, where I don't do that initially, and I am quick to judge about certain people because of that. And then as I get to know them, take the time to listen to what they're saying or to try to interact with them, try to talk to them in any way that I can, I learn more about who they are as a person. And in some cases, that's good. I learn how good of a person they can actually be. And in some cases, I learn that's not the case. They seem like someone you can trust, but you actually listen to what it is that they're saying or what they want to actually do, and you get to see the true picture of things. And I think that's the ultimate lesson that this show tries to teach. It's take the time to know the people around you instead of automatically judging, just based on first impressions.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Don Schlossman. I am an actor from Los Angeles. I've been here all my life. I'm a second-generation Los Angelino, and I've been acting with Little Fish for about 12 years.
Great. And which character did you play tonight?
Tonight I played Staff Sergeant Froggy LeSueur. He's a guy who likes a good time. He likes world travel. He's in the military, and he gets around. And he loves coming here because everybody likes to drink, and he likes to drink, and he's always had a good time at this lodge.
It was actually a piece about intolerance, a bit about, you know what I mean, about how we deal with foreigners and all that. And I thought the way they handled it very well, because it was a very farcical, it was a dark comedy, it was very entertaining.
I would agree. The play is about 35 years old, but it really is very timely in reference to themes of tolerance and acceptance of the other and people who are not like us. We can get to know them. We don't have to be afraid of them.
Yeah, I remember a comedian once said when he had to roast the president of the United States, it was at one of these dinners, and he says you have to be kind of biting, but don't go over the edge. That's how you really do it, to be respectful and all that. And I thought that's the way this piece was. It was very biting of the intolerance, but it never went over the edge. So it was very light. It was very humorous.
Yeah, I think it is a good touch. It doesn't demonize the villains of the piece, if you will, but it also shows them for the intolerant people that they are.
Yeah. Well, once again, I love the piece. I loved your acting in it. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Trip Langley. I grew up on a cattle ranch in East Texas, and then I moved to New York City, and I've lived in Los Angeles for the past 7 years.
And which character did you play?
I play Ellard Sims. I love Ellard. This is actually my second time playing Ellard, and I chose to do the show again because I love him so much. I think that Ellard is just he's someone who's very well-meaning, and he's had a lot of assumptions put on him his entire life by other people, and it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy type thing, where if people tell you something is true about yourself enough, it starts becoming true, even though that wasn't necessarily the case.
I like the way you played your character too, because again, it's very easy to pigeonhole this person, but you just managed to connect with the audience enough to make him really likable. I mean, I really liked the guy as a person. I thought he was very sweet, very, very innocent, very charming, very, compared to the ugliness out there in the world and in the play, that he was actually a bright spot.
That's actually something that I like about Ellard too, and that's what I see in him. I just feel like he's just very eager to please, and he wants everyone around him to be happy. And so a lot of his frustration in the show is that often his presence is frustrating for everybody, when all he wants is for everybody to be happy and get along, and he just enjoys life.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
I think that I think they just have a good time. It's a fun show. It's fun for all ages. It's kind of like a timeless piece, because sometimes you come and you see old plays. I say old, it was written in the 80s. It's not that old. But sometimes you can tell, a show, it feels dated. And this show feels like it could have been written today, 50 years ago, 10 years ago. I think it's really just timeless comedy.
Yeah, I agree. And also, the point I think behind the play was actually about intolerance, which again seems silly and all that. And I see the only way to actually deal with it is actually to deal with it, comically, irreverently, because you can't deal with it seriously. It's like, let's have a debate about intolerance. Okay, half you people have to say it's good, the other half have to say it's bad. Just can't do that. Come on, let's just show it for what it is. The warts, the extremes, and all that.
I think that darker themes are not always, but they can be better explored through comedy, because it's kind of like you're discussing something, or it's raising a point of discussion. It's sort of teaching something without just battering you over the head with it. I feel like if you come see the show, you almost don't realize until you walk out at the end what the message was, as opposed to being a play about intolerance or about racism. It's kind of like it's woven in a nuanced way, and that's always more enjoyable to watch.
this play. It may seem like it's being mean-spirited or something, and it wasn't that mean-spirited, but it may seem like it, but actually it's very entertaining, and it's very educational. And I don't really think it's that biased, really, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm from the South. I definitely don't think it's biased. I mean, I personally don't think it's mean-spirited. I think that the characters in the play, I mean, it's a comedy, and at some points it's almost farcical, so everyone's a little extreme, so you shouldn't necessarily view these characters as, real everyday people you're going to see at the grocery store, just because that's not what the structure and the genre calls for. But I don't think that it's mean-spirited. I don't think that if you find yourself similar to some of the characters, I don't necessarily think that you will find that the show puts them in a very positive light, but I don't think it pokes fun at them. I think that it's a realistic look at people who tend to have those opinions.
Well, I really enjoyed the piece. I loved your acting into it. I thought you were very, again, you were very connectable. You were very accessible to the people. As I love the way you played your character, and I really enjoyed the performance too. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Madeline Drake. I've been an actor since I was 10 years old, and I'm 66 now, so I've been doing it a long time. I am a professional actor, and I'm a member of the Little Fish Company, and I've been doing plays here about 11 years.
And which character did you play tonight?
I played Betty. Well, I think Betty's a pretty darn good lady, and she operates this whole lodge, and her husband died, I'm estimating, maybe 7 years ago, and they had a wonderful relationship, so she misses him.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Well, it is it's funny, but it also talks a little bit about the political situation and the evilness of the Ku Klux Klan and prejudice. So I was reading today about a lady apparently who several years ago went to see it, and she thought it glamorized the Ku Klux Klan, which I disagree. But anyway, that's what it is. But it's very funny, and it's over the top, and so it's good.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed it. I thought, again, it was a good farce. I thought it dealt with the issues that should be talked about, and I think the only healthy way to talk about it is comedy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so I really enjoyed the piece. I thought it was written pretty well and acted extremely well also.
Oh, well, thank you very much. The playwright actually was a wonderful actor. He wrote 2 plays, and he was at only about age 38. I think he was killed in a plane crash. And he actually wrote this play for himself to play the foreigner. Larry Shue, very, very, very talented actor.
And also, again, I think that, it's making fun of the, left versus right and, the political pollution that's going around. I think it gives it a digestible medium for us to actually deal with.
Correct, but I think that the one great thing it does is that, for instance, my character Betty and the other characters who oppose the racist behavior of the Ku Klux Klan are all Southerners as well, and it shows that you can't put everybody in one category. Just because you live in the South doesn't mean you agree with that kind of thing. So it's very good, and it's scary too, because people sometimes think that the Ku Klux Klan isn't still around, and they are. Yeah.
Well, okay, that's very interesting.
Even in California, they are. So.
Well, I know there are some white supremacy groups. Mm-hmm. They go to colleges and just hand out pamphlets and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with that. But again, I really enjoyed the piece tonight. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very poignant, and I thought it was very entertaining.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming.
All right, thank you very much for being on the show. The Foreigner will be playing at Little Fish Theater from June 15th to July 15th. For more information, go to www.littlefishtheater.org.